Thursday in Tryon, North Carolina, and it's already 80 degrees at just 9 o'clock in the morning. Supposed to hit 90 today up on the mountain. So these are the dog days of summer that they talk about. Uh, but I don't know how we would appreciate the cool and the breeze and the nice weather that we have unless we also experience some of the less favorable weather. It's certainly going to make the lake feel extra cool and refreshing with the 90-degree weather. And just have to take all of the different kinds of weather that comes with any geographic area. Encouragement is a wonderful thing when you're encouraged, isn't it? And perhaps one of the masters of encouragement was Paul. Paul particularly expresses his encouragement to Timothy in both 1st and 2nd Timothy, probably written around AD 65 to 67. Paul's probably in prison, and Paul starts out, as everybody should, with compliments, sincere compliments, not phony compliments. It's so easy to be phony about compliments and not be sincere. We remember particularly a person in Florida who used to always go up to men and say to them, "You married over your head," which was a compliment to the wife who was standing there. And in lots of cases, the wife was not anything special to look at, and he didn't know their personality, so he wasn't commenting on their wonderful personality. He was just trying to flatter for flattery's sake, and that's not the kind of encouragement. That's a phony kind of encouragement. But Paul definitely encourages Timothy through sincere compliments. If you look at 2 Timothy 1:5, you'll see that. Paul wrote to Timothy in 8 different books, or about Timothy in 8 different books. And Paul is very sincerely interested in Timothy's health, as you'll see in 1 Timothy 5:23. He's concerned that Timothy not take to heart too hard somebody complaining about Timothy's youthfulness. You'll find that in 1 Timothy 4:12. You'll find that Paul assures Timothy that he's praying for him in 2 Timothy 1:3, and encourages Timothy in the gifts that God has given to him, spiritual gifts that God has given to him in 2 Timothy 1:6. In 2 Timothy 1:8, he wants to be sure that Timothy understands there's difficulties in life. It's not all pie in the sky. It's not always going to be easy. It's going to be difficult at times. And I think it's foolish for us when we encourage somebody to just say everything's going to be all right. They call that pan-millennial. Everything's going to pan out all right. Well, it doesn't always pan out all right. And in 2 Timothy 1:9 and 10, he reminds Timothy of his calling, and all of us should remember that our calling is to glorify God. We do that in many different ways, but Paul's encouragement to Timothy is to be sure to remember his calling. And 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 11 and 12, Paul says he has spiritual confidence, and he wants Timothy to have the same spiritual confidence. That is, confidence in God, confidence in his ability to take Timothy to whatever task he needs. And then he talks about the standards that Timothy is going to have to live like a soldier, an athlete, a farmer, and a workman. It's important for us to know that life isn't going to be easy, and it's not without effort. And there's disciplining of yourself, disciplining of your vocation, and Paul very well outlines in 2 Timothy chapter 1 that Timothy needs to understand the standards that are necessary in order to be successful to glorify God. In 2 Timothy 2:19 through 23, Paul talks about the fact that Timothy would have to have a sanctified situation. That is, he'd have to separate himself from this world. He'd have to have the standards and the values that are so contrary to this world, and that he'd have to live a righteous and moral and ethical life. And finally, in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 24 through 26, Paul writes to Timothy and he says, you need to be a gentle servant. Not like a bull in a china shop, not running over the top of people, not exerting your authority just because you have a leadership role, but rather being a gentle servant. Paul was a master of encouragement. If you really want to understand how to encourage others, how to be encouraged, my suggestion would be that you might take 10 or 15 minutes, that's all it would take, to read through 1st and 2nd Timothy and see how Paul encourages Timothy. You can use that with your children, you can use that with your wife or mate, you can use that as you lead in a group of Bible study, if you are in leadership role as a deacon, as a pastor or associate pastor, minister of any kind. The traits that Paul shows as he encourages Timothy are traits that all of us ought to have as we encourage each other. I heard a funny joke that I just have to share with you. A fellow went into the doctor and he was having some intestinal problems, and the doctor says, well, what have you been eating? And he said, I've been eating billiard balls. And the doctor said, well, tell me about it. And he says, well, in the morning for breakfast I have a red billiard ball. He said, at lunchtime I eat a yellow billiard ball, and if I want a snack I eat a purple billiard ball, and at dinner time I have black billiard balls. And the doctor says, well, let me think about that for a minute. He says, I see the problem. He says, you're not eating enough greens. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a wonderful day.